Save the trees. When choosing my persuasive essay topic, one thing came to mind, and one thing only. I kept pushing it out. No, pick something less controversial. No, pick something that won't offend anybody. No, pick something out that will be more popular. No, pick something out that won't have so much backlash. But it kept invading my mind and my heart, and I knew what I had to do. This is my passion. This is my voice reaching out to you. George Orwell once stated, "In time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act." I'm standing here with truth in my voice, and I'm not standing here in front of you to judge, harass, or berate you. I'm giving this essay to an audience that I know does not share the same opinion as me. I hope you understand the bravery this takes. I stand here today to have you look at this subject through my eyes. I come to you with love and mercy, and my hope is that at the end, you will stand bravely with me and say 3 words. I am pro-life. I won't bore you with the nitty-gritty details. We are all familiar with Roe v. Wade. On January 22, 1973, the Supreme Court gave women the right to abortion. There's a war called abortion, and no one wins unless it ends. It's a battle that I'm ready to fight, and all I need are my words in your heart. Mother Teresa once said, "The greatest destroyer of peace today is abortion." Because if a mother can kill her child, what is left for me to kill you and you kill me? There's nothing between. So let's start at the beginning. I think it's important to define what makes a person before we continue on. Personhood, it seems like it would be a simple concept, a very simple thing to define, and yet there seems to be a gray area when it comes to a baby. I'd like to exploit that area today. The Oxford Dictionary defines personhood as the quality or condition of being an individual person. So when does life begin? A zygote, which is a fertilized egg, is the beginning of a new human being. A human development begins at fertilization, the process during which a male gamete unites with a female gamete, or oocyte, which is an egg cell, to form a single cell called a zygote. This highly specialized cell marks the beginning of each of us as a unique individual. That is a male gamete plus a female oocyte equals a zygote. Another example from another scientific work, fertilization is an important landmark because under ordinary circumstances, a new, genetically distinct human organism is thereby formed. Development begins with fertilization, the process by which the male gamete, the sperm, and the female gamete, the oocyte, unite to give rise to a zygote. The National Geographic put together a documentary, In the Womb, in 2005, documenting the development of the baby throughout pregnancy. In the introduction of their program, they sum up the scientific knowledge of the beginning of life in the following way. The 2 cells gradually and peacefully become one. This is the moment of conception when an individual's unique set of DNA is created, a human signature that never existed before and never will be repeated. Okay. So now we have defined that life begins at conception and that life has its own set of DNA. If you were to take a cell from a baby and clone it, you would not get the twin of the mother, but a twin of the baby. Therefore, the baby is its own separate being. So let's go back to the definition of personhood, the quality or condition of being an individual person. I think we have now established that a baby, or as many say, fetus, which means young offspring in Latin, is a person. Thomas Jefferson once said, "The care of human life and happiness, and not their destruction, is the first and only object of good development." In the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." All men are created equal. We established that babies are human beings, so shouldn't they have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? And yet we deny babies this right every day. I didn't realize that the Declaration of Independence, a staple of what our country was founded on, meant those things with the exception of the unborn. Because we do deny them life, we deny them liberty, and we deny them their right to pursue happiness. We deny them their first words, smiles, coos, and peekaboos. We deny them their first day at school. We deny them terrible picture days and happy birthdays. We deny them first crushes and first heartbreaks. We deny them sleepovers and mischievousness with friends, the first day of college and waving goodbye. We deny them falling in love with their soulmate, being walked down the aisle, or standing and seeing their beautiful bride. We deny them the day of holding their first child in their arms. We deny them the chance to sit out on the porch and watch their children play in the yard. The circle of life continues as long as you let it. We deny mothers and fathers the right of holding their baby for the first time, taking pictures of their first smiles, singing lullabies at 3 in the morning, memorizing their first laugh, the walk to me's. We deny them of seeing their happy, nervous 5-year-old scatter off on the first day of school, only to run back and say, "I love you." We deny them the awkward picture days, crooked teeth, messy hair, and yet they look perfect to you. We deny them seeing their child blow out birthday candles in one breath. We deny them holding their child because a boy or girl broke their heart. We deny them watching their son or daughter fall madly in love. We deny them walking their daughter down the aisle or how handsome their son looks in a suit waiting for her. We deny them the right to hold their first grandchild in their arms and how they forget how perfect a little baby fits in their arms. We deny them the right to sit on the front porch watching their grandchildren play in the yard. The circle of life continues as long as you let it. I think it's important to review the stages of a baby's development, and I'll explain why afterwards. In the first month, the fertilized egg grows. The amniotic sac fluid starts and it helps cushion the growing embryo. The placenta also develops. The placenta is a round, flat organ that transfers nutrients from the mother to the baby and transfers wastes from the baby. A primitive face will take form with large dark circles for eyes. The mouth, lower jaw, and throat are developing. Blood cells are taking shape and circulation will begin. The tiny heart tube will beat 65 times a minute by the end of this 4th week. The second month, the baby's facial features continue to develop. Each ear begins as a little fold of skin at the side of the head. Tiny buds that eventually grow into arms and legs are forming. Fingers, toes, and eyes are also forming. The neural tube, which consists of the brain, spinal cord, and other neural tissue of the central nervous system, is well formed. The digestive tract and sensory organs begin to develop. Bone starts to replace cartilage. The third month, the baby's arms, hands, fingers, feet, and toes are fully formed. The baby can open and close its fists and mouth. Fingernails and toenails are beginning to develop, and the external ears are formed. The beginnings of teeth are forming. Your baby's reproductive organs also develop, and at the end of this 3rd month, the baby is about 4 inches long. The 4th month, the baby's heartbeat can now be audible through a Doppler. The fingers and toes are well defined. Eyelids, eyebrows, eyelashes, and nails are formed. Teeth and bones become more dense. The baby can even suck his or her thumb, yawn, stretch, and make faces. The nervous system is starting to function. The reproductive organs are now fully developed. You can now tell if the baby is a boy or girl. Baby is about 6 inches long at the end of this month. The 5th month, the mother will begin to feel her baby move. The baby is developing muscles and exercising them. Hair begins to grow on the baby's head. The baby's shoulder, back, and temples are covered by soft, fine hair called lanugo. By the end of the 5th month, the baby is about 10 inches long. The 6th month, the baby's skin is reddish in color, wrinkled, and veins are visible through the baby's translucent skin. Baby's fingers and toe prints are visible. The eyelids begin to part and the eyes open. Babies respond to sounds by moving or increasing the pulse. The mother may notice jerking motions if the baby hiccups. The baby can survive outside of the womb after the 23rd week. By the end of this month, the baby is about 12 inches. The 7th month, the baby will continue to mature and develop reserves of body fat. The baby's hearing is fully developed. He or she changes position frequently in response to stimuli, including sound, pain, and light. The amniotic fluid begins to diminish, and at the end of this month, the baby is about 14 inches long and weighs from 2 to 4 pounds. The 8th month, the baby will continue to mature and develop reserves of body fat. The baby will be kicking more. Baby's brain is developing rapidly at this time, and the baby can see and hear. Internal systems are well developed, and at the end of this month, the baby is about 18 inches long and weighs as much as 5 pounds. The 9th and final month, the baby continues to grow and mature. The lungs are nearly fully developed. The baby's reflexes are coordinated so he or she can blink, close their eyes, turn their head, grasp firmly, and respond to sounds, light, and touch. The baby is definitely ready to enter the world and is about 18 to 20 inches long and weighs about 7 pounds. It's important for me to go through these developmental stages with you because a lot of people are in support of abortions, especially in the earlier months. Some people think it's okay to abort a baby when they are only 8 or 10 weeks because they are not viable. But let me ask you, if I were to plant a tree outside right now, it will not be big and strong yet. It will not bear fruit, flowers, or leaves yet. It will be small, weak, breakable, still growing. But is it still not a tree? Would we still not call it a tree? Do we only say it's a tree when it's fully grown? No. It does not matter what stage that tree is in. It still and will always be a tree. You just have to give it time to grow to its full potential. I have to say the same for a baby. A baby is a baby. You just have to give him or her time to reach their full potential. They are a baby whether 3 weeks in the womb or 3 weeks outside of the womb. Location does not and should not determine whether you're a person or not. Is it a baby, not a baby inside the womb versus outside of the womb? I'll let you be the judge. In the wise words of Dr. Seuss, a person is a person, no matter how small. Before abortion, this is what a fetal heartbeat sounds like. Abortion. What an ugly word. It's thrown around so carelessly, it's become too common. Our nation has become desensitized to this word. Instead of saying baby, we say fetus, blob of tissue, clump of cells. Instead of saying killing, we say aborting. And instead of extermination chambers, we say abortion clinics. Abortion is masked by the false notion that it's women's health care or women's rights. We use the word abortion to cover up its real meaning, murder. I don't use that word lightly, but in this situation I have to. You use the word murder when somebody takes another person's life. In abortion, a life is being taken. What else would we call that? A baby's heart is beating before abortion, and then after abortion has stopped. This is murder. I'll let you decide for yourself. When comparing the two definitions of abortion and murder, abortion is defined as the deliberate termination of a human pregnancy. Murder is defined as the premeditated killing of one human being by another. It seems clear to me as daylight that abortion would be a crime. Gandhi. A heart beating means life. A heart not beating means death. From here on out, there is some graphic images and material. So if you have to look away, you can. But it reminds me that if something is so horrifying that we need to look away, perhaps we should not be tolerating it. Some people are unaware of how abortion is done, and here are some methods. The woman is given methotrexate and misoprostol, or mifepristone and misoprostol. Both are concluded the same way. The woman is given this and sent home where it would cause the baby to be expulsed from her body. Manual vacuum aspiration is where a cannula tube, which is a tube, is inserted into the uterus. It vacuums out the baby and any other pregnancy tissue. And the next methods, these are what late abortions are completed by. Dismembering the developed unborn child, even when they can feel pain, pulling the baby out piece by piece until the mother's uterus is empty. After the abortionist must reassemble the child's body to ensure that nothing has been left inside of her. This is dilation and curettage, where they dilate the cervix, then a curette, which is a metal rod with a handle on one end and a sharp loop on the other, is inserted into the uterus through the dilated cervix. The curette then scrapes the uterus and removes the baby. This is dilation and evacuation. The first step is to dilate the cervix, enlarging the cervix. This enables surgical instruments such as a curette or forceps to be inserted. The second step is to remove the baby. A local anesthetic or general anesthesia is given to the woman. A cannula is passed into the uterus. A cannula is attached by tubing to a bottle and a pump that provides a vacuum to remove tissue from the uterus. Forceps are inserted into the uterus through the vagina and used to extract any remaining tissue. A curette is used to scrape the lining of the uterus and remove tissue. Lastly, the vacuum is used to ensure removal of the baby body remains. The pieces of the baby's body are also examined to ensure that the entire baby was removed. Fetal termination may be performed prior to the surgical procedure via an injection to stop the heartbeat. The tissues of the dead baby will soften, making dismemberment easier. The standard D&E procedure is difficult after 20 weeks due to the toughness of the baby's tissue. It is often done when fetal bone and cartilage have hardened or calcified so that the suction abortion cannot be done. Dr. Joseph Randall, who did abortions for about 10 years, explained that after a D&E, you, quote, have to reassemble the baby's arms, legs, head, chest, thorax, everything. 41 states allow abortions 20 weeks or more. And this is what a 20-week baby looks like. 8 states allow abortions up to the day the baby is born. This is what we call the partial birth abortion. It's important to note that this abortion procedure was banned in 2007 by the Supreme Court. Haskell, an abortionist from Ohio, was quoted while chuckling that, quote, the baby sometimes helps by wrapping its little arms and legs around the surgeon's hands while the scissors are being positioned. It is also important to note that although this particular abortion procedure was banned, abortions are still done after 5 months described in the methods before this. So this is a partial birth abortion. Guided by the ultrasound, the abortionist grabs the baby's legs with forceps. The baby's leg is pulled out into the birth canal. The abortionist delivers the baby's entire body except for the head. The abortionist jams scissors into the baby's skull. The scissors are then opened to enlarge the hole. The scissors are removed and a suction tube is inserted. The child's brains are sucked out, causing the skull to collapse. This is a saline abortion. This is not banned. It is still legal, although not very many practice it anymore. It's important to mention because at one time, our nation allowed babies to go through this. The saline abortion procedure can only be done at 16 weeks or later, when enough fluid is in the amniotic sac surrounding the baby. A long needle is inserted through the mother's abdomen and the wall of the uterus into the amniotic cavity. As much amniotic fluid as possible, usually about 1 cup, is withdrawn. Then a small dose of saline solution is injected. If the woman doesn't experience any immediate signs of allergic reaction or rejection, the remaining solution is injected into the amniotic sac. After the toxic mixture is ingested, the baby swallows the salt solution and is poisoned and his skin burned. After suffering for 1 to 1.5 hours, the baby's heartbeat stops. The corrosive effect of the salt solution burns the lungs and strips away the outer layer of the baby's skin. The mother goes through labor and soon delivers a burned and dead baby. The abortion in medical terms is considered a success. Induction. This abortion takes about 3 to 4 days to complete. On the first day, the woman is given an ultrasound to determine the gestational age of her baby. Then, with the aid of the ultrasound, a lethal dose of the heart medication digoxin is injected into the baby's heart directly through the woman's abdomen. Digoxin gives the baby a fatal heart attack. On the final day of the abortion, the woman is given the drug oxytocin, which induces contractions in the onset of labor. The woman is then placed in a room where they endure the labor process and then give birth to their dead baby. One abortionist, Hodari, says he prefers to dismember live babies between 18 to 24 weeks as opposed to giving the baby a shot of digoxin. A lot of people have quit the abortion industry and turned pro-life. They saw the horrors firsthand. They didn't just see it, they did it. Doesn't that tell you something? If abortion was as good as everybody makes it out to be, then why are there so many workers quitting the industry and turning pro-life? Testimony of Paul E. Jarrett Jr. It was a 1974 abortion that changed my mind about abortion forever. While doing a suction abortion, I found that the section correct was obstructed by a torn off fetal leg. So I changed techniques and dismembered the child with a ring forceps. And as I brought out the rib cage, I looked and I saw a tiny beating heart. And when I found the head of the baby, I looked squarely in the face of another human being. A human being that I had just killed. I turned to the scrub nurse and said, "I'm sorry. I just knew that I couldn't be a part of abortion anymore." Dr. Beverly McMillan used to do reassembly after performing abortions. But she, quote, "I got to where I just couldn't look at those little babies' bodies anymore." Deborah Henry, who once worked in a Michigan clinic, said that if a woman had insurance coverage for a suction abortion, the fetal remains were sent to a lab. But if she had no insurance, the remains were, quote, "put down the garbage disposal." The second abortion clinic she worked at had an industrial strength disposal double action one that chopped forward, reversed itself, and chopped again to parade the baby. Kathy Sparks worked at an Illinois clinic where the remains of a second trimester unborn were put down a, quote, "continually flushing toilet." Late-term abortionist George Tiller of Wichita, Kansas, had his own crematorium to deal with fetal remains. Laura Tivis, once a medical secretary at his clinic, recalled a day when Tiller was carrying a, quote, "particularly heavy load of dead babies" into the crematorium. He asked her to help him with the door. She did so, then returned to her desk nearby. Quote, "I heard him fire it up, and the most horrible thing was I could smell those babies burning because I was just around the corner." She looked for a different job after that. Dr. David Brewer one day did a saline abortion. Brewer saw a badly burned little baby, quote, "kicking and moving for a little while before it finally died of those terrible burns." One time he assisted with a hysterotomy, which is like a cesarean section, but is intentionally done so early that the baby dies soon and after delivery. Quote, "and they simply took that little baby that was making little sounds and moving and kicking over and set it on the table in a cold stainless steel bowl." He recalled the baby, quote, "kicked and moved less and less as time went on." One abortion clinic worker, nurse Brenda Pratt Schaefer, turned against abortion almost immediately after witnessing a partial abortion, also called dilation and extraction. The baby was in the 6th month of pregnancy. She saw Dr. Martin Haskell deliver most of the little boy's body, keeping only his head inside the womb. The baby's little fingers were clasping and unclasping, and his little feet were kicking. Then the doctor stuck the surgical scissors in the back of his head, and the baby's arms jerked out. The doctor opened up the scissors, stuck a high-powered suction tube into the opening, and sucked the baby's brains out. The baby then went completely limp. She said she was completely unprepared for what she was seeing. Quote, "I almost threw up as I watched Dr. Haskell doing these things. The woman wanted to see her baby, so they cleaned up the baby, put him in a blanket, and handed him to her. She cried the whole time and kept saying, 'I am so sorry. Please forgive me.' I was crying too. I couldn't take it." These are just a few of the testimonies of ex-abortion workers. Babies are not disposable. As a nation, look at what we have done, what we have tolerated. There's substantial evidence that the unborn can feel pain. It has been proven in babies after 20 weeks, but is likely before then, but can only be proven after. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the baby can't feel pain at 15 weeks. Does that make it all right? If I wanted my son to die and poison him so that he would die peacefully, does that make it okay? No. Murder is murder. You can kill someone in 1,000,001 ways, and it has all the same end result: death. Like I said before, it has been proven in babies over 20 weeks. This is undisputed. Pain receptors are present throughout the unborn child's entire body by no later than 20 weeks after fertilization, and nerves link these receptors to the brain's thalamus and subcortical plate by no later than 20. By 8 weeks after fertilization, the unborn child reacts to touch. After 20 weeks, the unborn child reacts to stimuli, what would be recognized as painful if applied to an adult human. For example, by recoiling their body to it. In the unborn child, application of such painful stimuli is associated with significant increases in stress hormones known as the stress response. For the purpose of surgery on unborn children, fetal anesthesia is routinely administered and is associated with a decrease in stress hormones compared to their level when painful stimuli are applied without such anesthesia. So when doing fetal surgery, we'll administer them anesthesia, but not when we're doing this. Not when we're pulling them apart limb by limb or causing them to have a heart attack. They are in the womb 1 second, and the next thing they know, their limbs are being pulled off. No anesthesia, no painkillers, nothing. These little babies feel every bit of it. Please just take a moment and think about how excruciating that would be. Do you understand that we give mercy to people who have done the most heinous crimes, that only nightmares are made? We give them the lethal injection, which is the practice of injecting a person with a fatal dose of drugs. This causes the person to be put to sleep and then stops their breathing and heart. But this is what we do to babies who have done nothing. They're only guilty of existing, guilty of growing, guilty of being in a mother's womb, guilty of a beating heart. To examine whether something is humane, first determine whether you would want it done to you. I think I can speak for everybody here. I wouldn't bestow this on my worst enemy, let alone babies. America, innocent blood, is on our hands. March 18th, a mother, Michelle Wilkins, 7 months pregnant, responded to a Craigslist ad for baby clothes. She arrived at the seller's home in Longmont. She was attacked, beaten, cut open, and her baby was removed. The baby died. Police officer Billy Sawyer, who responded to the call, said that he and his partner weren't prepared for the grisly scene. Quote, she was covered in blood, Sawyer told CNN's Aaron Burnett. Wilkins reached out for his hands for comfort. He held them and listened to her. What broke his heart was, quote, she did not know she was no longer with her child. The alleged attacker, Dynell Lane, will not face murder charges. Why? Because the Colorado state law does not recognize a fetus as a person. Do you think this is right? I think most people would agree that this is wrong, and that her baby was a human being, and there was nothing short than murder. Seeing people's reactions after this was announced was faith-restoring and yet confusing to me. Faith-restoring because it's rare when the country comes together and agrees on something, and we all agreed that this was murder. I was glad to see that so many people were upset about this like I was. Everybody thought this woman should be charged with murder, and rightfully so. However, what about the babies that are murdered every day? What about them? Do they not matter? These two situations, while different, had the same end result. A murdered baby, and nobody held accountable. No justice, yet there was only outrage for one baby. Along the same line, what I find incredibly ironic is that I can put a picture up of a baby one day before it's born. Most pro-choicers will say, well, no, I don't agree with aborting that baby. But in the next breath, defend their decision of being pro-choice by saying it's a woman's body, her right to choose. Okay? So isn't it her right to abort her baby one day before it should be born? But you don't think it's right. So you can't have it both ways. You're pro-choice because it's her choice, but you don't think it should be her choice when the baby reaches a certain stage. A baby is a baby no matter what stage of development. Then I could put up a baby in the second trimester and say, what about this baby? Is it okay for this baby to be aborted? Once again, most would say, well, no, I don't think I agree with that either. Well, now I'm just confused. Why is it okay to not abort these babies, but okay to abort these babies? 2, 3, 4 months old. Do you support this? Early abortions? And are you sure you do? Are you sure about that? Because what you're trying to say is that you feel less guilty in supporting abortion of a baby in the smaller stages than the more developed baby. But does it make it easier on your conscience because something must kick in when you see this 6-month-old baby and know it wouldn't be right to abort it? So why then do we support the abortion of a 3-month-old baby? Do you understand now? They are one of the same. Whether it's a 9-month, 6-month, or 3-month-old baby in the womb, they are all babies. The truth does not change according to our ability to stomach it. I've heard lots of arguments for the murdering of babies. What about overpopulation? What about it? Should we kill the homeless, the criminals, the mentally handicapped, or senile? They're just contributing to overpopulation, right? They're not contributing anything to society, right? Mother Teresa once said, "How can there be too many children?" That is like saying there are too many flowers. Another thing I hear the most is, "Don't like abortion, don't have one." Okay. If you don't like child molestation, then don't molest a child. If you don't like rape, then don't rape. If you don't like murder, then don't murder. If you don't like stealing, then don't steal. But does that solve the problem? Does that make it right? Does that make injustices nobody's business? Even if abortion were made illegal, there would still be many abortions. That may be true. I cannot sit here and tell you that if abortions were made illegal, that they wouldn't still be performed. But I cannot say that about other things either. Murder is illegal, and yet people still murder. Rape is illegal, and yet people still rape. Drugs are illegal, but they are still used. Speeding is illegal, yet people still speed. Prostitution is illegal, but it still happens. But can you imagine how much more these things would occur if not made illegal? Can you imagine if rape was not illegal, how many people would do it? I hear, "Do you want women to die in dangerous back alley abortions? Should we legalize terrorism to make it safer for the terrorist?" You don't adapt to injustice, you oppose it. What about in situations of rape or incest? Less than 1% of pregnancies are caused by rape or incest. Some argue, we just want women to have control over their reproduction rights. Okay, let's talk about that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but abortion has nothing to do with reproduction. Reproduction is the union of a male and female gametes to form a zygote. That's what reproduction is. When two people have sexual intercourse, of course, this occurs. Is reproduction. Everybody has control and rights over that. Nobody is telling anybody that they cannot have sex. That would be an invasion of reproductive rights. But alas, that is not what is happening. When you're pregnant, reproduction has happened. It's done. Abortion only comes into play after reproduction has already occurred. It is after that that you choose what to do, to either destroy or build. Abortion does not prevent reproduction. It only destroys the baby it produces. By eliminating abortion, reproductive rights would stay the same. Nothing would change. People can continue to have sex and reproduce as they have from the beginning of time. Well, I'm personally not for it, but I'm for a woman's right to choose. Okay, but that's like saying I'm personally not for murder, but I support someone's right to do so. I'm personally against rape, but I support someone's right to do so. I'm personally not for stealing, but I support someone's right to do so. I'm personally not for kidnapping anybody, but I support somebody's right to do so. I'm personally not for hurting children, but I support someone's right to do so. Do you see how illogical this reasoning is? I've heard this argument. My body, my choice. No. You don't have 2 hearts, 2 brains, 4 legs, 4 arms. You have a human being inside of you that has its own body. This is not your body. When you get into your car, do you become your car? When you get into your house, do you become your house? No. You are simply a person in a car, a person in a house. Your body, your choice, and yet drugs are illegal. Prostitution is illegal. Your body, your choice. What about the baby's body and the baby's choice? Some babies die by chance, but none should die by choice. It's a woman's right. Really? It's a woman's right to do this? To her own child? Nobody should have the right to murder anybody. Your right to control your body does not give you the right to destroy someone else's. But it's legal. Yeah, it is. That doesn't mean it's right. Remember that once upon a time, slavery was legal. This was legal. And since 1973, this is legal. What do all three of these have in common? All were considered not human. All three were legal to kill. All three were taken against their will. And lastly, what did they have in common? All three were human. The wise Abraham Lincoln once said, "No law can give me the right to do what is wrong." For perspective, abortion kills more people every 4 months than the Holocaust did in 12 years. That's 61 million abortions since 1973. This makes a mother's womb the most dangerous place to live in America. Some people don't think that men should have a say. I disagree. We let them have a say when Roe v. Wade was passed. The Supreme Court was made up of all men. All men voted for that. A baby is formed between two individuals, a woman and a man, and when a baby is born, we don't say, "No, it's not your baby, only the woman's." No, we say, "Here's the mother, here's the father, 50-50. Why shouldn't he have a say in whether a baby that is half him gets murdered or not? So the father has no responsibility when the baby is in the womb, but 100% responsibility when the baby is outside of the womb. Anybody or any race, religion, political view can oppose abortion. Did only the Jewish oppose the Holocaust? No. Why? Because it's a human rights issue and it affected everybody. If there was suddenly a genocide of men, I would step in and protest it and fight it. Should I not be able to because I'm a woman? Some argue abortion is empowering to women. I can't do this. You're right. Let's sign you up for an abortion. That doesn't empower a woman. You know what empowers a woman? Saying, "Yes, you can, and I'm going to help you." Giving them all the help and resources they need. Women are capable of doing anything. Why are we stopping at motherhood? Why are we stopping at giving life? Why are we agreeing with the uncertain and justifying killing their unborn baby? Empowering is giving life, not taking life. Abortion cannot, nor will it ever, empower a woman, because it can only take away from her. It is a negative power. It destroys. It does not build up a woman. It tears her down. The most empowering force society has is love, and abortion is not love. Abortion is what women succumb to when they feel they have no other choice. Ironically, the fact that women end up at an abortion clinic is because they feel powerless. I have yet to see proof that abortion makes women happier, more loving, more giving, and more fulfilled. Abortion changes us, yes, but not for the best. Oftentimes, abortion is covered under the disguise of women's health care. Abortion is not health care. Real health care saves lives. This is not health care. Taking a living baby out of a mother is not health care. This is not health care. Leaving her with regret and remorse is not women's health care. Abortion is degrading. She gets taken into her room, gets a life literally ripped out of her, and then a bill for $500 and sent home alone. This is not health care. The effects abortion has on a woman is staggering. Physical risks of abortion. Surgical abortion is an intrusive procedure that violently interrupts a natural biological process. Documented complications include hemorrhage, infection, cervical damage, uterine perforation, pelvic inflammatory disease, and retained fetal or placental tissue. Some women have died during botched abortions. Abortion can hinder future reproductive success. It increases the risk of preterm birth. This increases with every abortion. Abortion is also associated with an increased risk of infertility, miscarriage, ectopic pregnancy, and placenta previa. Other long-term risks of abortion include breast, cervical, and ovarian cancers. This is not health care. The psychological risks of abortion is stunning. A 2011 meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Psychiatry found an 81% increased risk of mental health problems among women who had undergone abortions. These problems include anxiety, depression, alcohol use, drug use, and suicidal behavior. A large-scale Finnish study found that the suicide rate among abortion was nearly 6 times greater than the suicide rate following childbirth. Abortion can also damage a woman's relationships with her partner and others and can adversely affect men and children. Many women and men come to regret their decision. Don't believe me? How many people with kids do you hear say, I wish I would have had an abortion? I never have. Now go ask somebody who has had an abortion and ask them if they regret it. More times than not, you will hear the word yes. So this is what has become a women's health care? This doesn't help them. This destroys them. These are testimonies. Eunice from Hawaii. As I stepped out of that abortion clinic, I felt unforgivable, and I began to live an unforgivable life. I was a wretched woman, so who could ever love or forgive someone like me? My life remained in a state of undeniable pain, condemnation, and shame. I wanted to die. Zoe from Illinois. I have a hard time remembering what I was like before the abortion, but I know afterward I was so angry at everyone and everything. Jessica from Tennessee. To this very day, anxiety, depression, and anger still haunt me. Adrian from California. If anyone tells you that there are no side effects to having an abortion, I am living proof that the side effects can be devastating. Not only do you rob yourself of a person that would enrich your life, you rob all your family as well. I tell you, the pain of that realization is excruciating. Angelina. As time went on, I tried to start over, to get away from the guilt, shame, and depression. I lived in a secretive prison of self-hatred and condemnation. We need to keep abortion safe. Keep abortion safe. It was unsafe to begin with. It's not safe for the women and it's not safe for the baby. There is no safe way to dismember a human being. I don't consider anything safe when two people walk in and only one walks out. Planned Parenthood does a good job of covering up the ugliness behind their doors with bright pink lettering and a "we're here for you women" attitude. But open the doors, peel back those layers, and we're left with the true horror of abortion. If you don't think that abortion isn't a business, then tell that to Cecile Richards, the CEO of Planned Parenthood, who makes over $533,000 a year. If you don't think that abortion isn't a business, then tell that to Planned Parenthood, which brings in $164,154,000 a year, and that is just from abortions alone. This is not to mention that taxpayers fund Planned Parenthood by giving them $487.4 million a year. Abortion is their revenue. They make money killing babies. That's why they don't want abortions to end. The end of abortion would be the end of them. They don't want women to know they have alternative choices. They don't want her to choose life or adoption or to keep the baby because that's less money for them. They don't look at a woman as a woman in need. They look at her as a customer, and they have the most expensive product to sell her: abortion. There are numerous videos of Planned Parenthood caught on camera being deceitful to women. Planned Parenthood says ultrasounds are invasive. Invasive. So Planned Parenthood thinks this is invasive, but not this. Ultrasounds are good medical practice. It verifies the length of the pregnancy and can verify that the woman does not have a tubal or ectopic pregnancy. This is where the unborn baby is developing in the fallopian tubes and not in the womb. If this is not discovered, the tube can rupture, which can result in death. These 4 women all died when abortion providers failed to diagnose their ectopic pregnancies. So why do you think Planned Parenthood opposes ultrasounds before abortions? I'll let Dr. Joseph Randall answer that. They, the women, are never allowed to look at the ultrasound because we knew that if they so much as heard the heartbeat, they wouldn't want to have an abortion. Many women who have had abortion don't know the truth about fetal development. Ex-Planned Parenthood worker Catherine Anthony Adair says, quote, "We never discussed fetal development. The baby was referred to as the contents of the uterus or clump of cells. On the rare occasion a woman did ask about the size of her baby, I would tell her it was about the size of the tip of my pencil, regardless of how many weeks into her pregnancy she was." Jules Green, another ex-abortion worker, said, "When explaining the abortion, the word baby was never used. Rather, contents of the uterus, the pregnancy, or products of conception were the preferred terms to refer to the fetus." And a 2012 NPR radio program interviewed abortion workers said they never mentioned the word abortion. Rather, abortions were referred to as treatments or going to the treatment room. In 2011, the Women's Choice Network assisted more than 1,500 women. Of the 172 who saw their ultrasound, 123 continued their pregnancy and didn't have an abortion. That is a 78% success rate. Ultrasounds show the reality of the unborn baby. Anyone who has listened to women who regret their abortions has heard over and over again, I wish I had more information. If I had known what abortion really did to my baby, I wouldn't have had one. That's very bad news for Planned Parenthood. It is a poverty to decide that a child must die so that you may live as you wish. Mother Teresa. Still don't think Planned Parenthood is out to make money off abortions? Blacks comprise only 13% of the population of America, but account for 37% of all abortions. Black women are 5 times more likely to abort than white women. So guess what the largest seller of abortions in the United States is? That's right. Planned Parenthood has located 80% of its abortion clinics in minority neighborhoods, disproportionately targeting minorities for abortion. Pregnant women in need are like small prey to the abortion industry, which is like a pack of hungry wolves. I have purposely left out politics and religion, not because I don't feel they play some role in abortion as a whole, but I don't feel they play as much of a role on the individual level as much as society has led us on to believe. I don't think you need to be on any side of the political line or have a religious stance to know right from wrong. Were only the religious the ones speaking out against the genocide of Jews? No. You don't need to be Republican or Democrat to be pro-life. You don't need to be religious or an atheist to be pro-life. You just need to know right from wrong. I have enough faith in humanity to believe that each person as an individual can form their opinion about morality on their own using their own heart. 46% of the United States are pro-life. I am the pro-life generation, and I hope that after today you are too. So now that I've gone through what the problem is, what's the solution? Here's what I would do. Step 1, we end abortion. We end this war on women and babies. Abortion is a reflection that society has failed women, and it's time to right the wrong. Step 2, we support. I'd like to give you an example. I have a headache. There are many solutions to my headache. I can take some Tylenol, drink something caffeinated, lay down in a quiet bedroom, take a hot bath. But if somebody were to say, oh, you have a headache, just chop off your head. That is what abortion to me is like. We have a problem, but it has many solutions. But instead of focusing on solutions, we have taught society to just get rid of the problem. There are many reasons why women feel they have no other choice but abortion. 21% inadequate finances, 21% not ready for responsibility, 16% women's life would be changed too much, 12% problems with relationships, unmarried, 11% too young or immature, 8% children are grown, has all that she wants, 3% baby has possible health concerns, and less than 1% pregnancy caused by rape or incest, 4% other. We address each and every one of these issues. We get as much feedback from women as possible because in the end, we want to love and protect the mother and the child. Third, we change. We do what is necessary to help. We give Planned Parenthood millions of dollars a year to perform abortions. How about we take that money and fund programs for these women? They are strong. Us women are strong. Let's show them how strong we can be. We can put money into programs that will help with daycare, food, schooling, baby supplies, ultrasounds, contraceptives, mammograms, health and wellness checkups for mom and baby, STD testing, parenting classes, counseling, relationship counseling, at-home visits. Then we can have contracts with employers where if they can get a tax deduction or other incentives if they hire a soon-to-be mother or a new mother. We take care of these women throughout the entire pregnancy and we counsel them afterwards, whether they decide to keep the baby or give them up for adoption. We need to provide emotional support to each and every one of these women and girls. We will address concerns and eliminate every single one of these problems, one step at a time. Not take their money, kill their baby, and send them on their merry way. Abortion is not pro-women. It is not for women. It is a business. They make money off of murdering babies and they don't want it to stop because that would be less money for them. They don't care about these women. As a taxpayer, I'd much rather see my money go towards giving a life and not taking one. As a human being, I'd rather see a baby live than die. Time to invest our money in life and not death. Step 4, we remodel the adoption process. There are 15 million couples waiting for a chance to hold a baby and call it their own. They wait years to be able to hold a child in their arms. And yet 1.21 million babies are murdered every year. It's like throwing food away in front of a homeless person. We changed the prices on adoption. To kill your baby, it costs $500, but to adopt one, it costs $20,000. This is absurd. This is insanity. And we must change this aspect of adoption. Adoption is an amazing option. My stepfather's birth mother chose to give him life and put him up for adoption instead of abortion. My stepfather went on to have 4 kids. One had 3 kids of their own, one has a son, and the other has 2 kids. The other one is all grown, no kids. They all wouldn't be here if his mother had chosen abortion. By her choosing adoption, she has saved 11 lives so far. Step 5, we grow. We move on from this as a nation, where murdering babies is just a bad memory. People will one day look back and think, God, how was that even legal? Just like we did with every past genocide. How is slavery ever legal? How is the Holocaust ever legal? How is abortion ever legal? It will be nothing but a distant memory, because we must not kill our nation, we must protect our nation. We must not only protect the people, but the morality of our nation. Because when people are fighting to protect these, but fighting to have the right to do this to a baby, something is wrong and we need to wake up. We should be teaching a value of human life by having abortion legal. We are saying killing a baby is okay. For whatever reason you have, that baby is disposable. Reverend Jesse Jackson said, what happens to the mind of a person and the moral fabric of a nation that accepts the abortion of the life of a baby without a pang of conscience? Babies are the most innocent in this world. They don't know evil, murder, crimes, lies. They haven't seen war, but they know the inside of their mother's womb. They can hear their mother's voice and heartbeat. I don't think they should know the feeling of being ripped apart limb by limb, do you? What kind of society do we live in that we not only accept this injustice, but we fight for it and celebrate outside of Washington for this? They don't have a voice. All they have is you. All they have is one person who thinks it's wrong and will speak up for them. Will that person be you? Will you fight for them? Our society has fought a lot of atrocities. We have intervened when Hitler killed 6 million Jews, and we intervened when slavery was here. Abortion is wrong. Let's intervene one last time and stop one last genocide that hangs over our country that is cloaked in acceptance. Because I will not accept that this is a solution. I will not accept these babies discarded like they are nothing. I will not accept them being torn limb by limb. I will not accept them dying by being shot with poison to the heart. We cannot accept this. We must not accept this as a person and as a nation. We must say together, enough is enough. Any country that accepts abortion is not teaching its people to love, but to use violence to get what they want. Mother Teresa. Look around, we are all here. We have kids of our own. Think of everyone that means the most to you. Could you imagine living your life without any of them here? Thank God your parents chose life. Thank God you chose life. But what if I wouldn't have? My 4 kids wouldn't be here, and someday their kids wouldn't be here, and so on. While working on this speech, my kids asked me what it was about. I was at a loss of words. How do I explain what abortion is? How do I explain how people murder babies every day? I responded, some people hurt babies, and I'm writing about how I am against it. I am trying to stop it. My 8-year-old Caleb looked at me without hesitation and said, why would anybody want to hurt little babies? Exactly. Why? What reason could there possibly be to justify killing babies? There are none, and if an 8-year-old can understand this, then so can we as a nation. This also made me think, what if I was for it? What would I tell my son? How I'm writing a speech on how we should be able to kill babies? I often think that if I'm too ashamed to tell my children of something I support, then perhaps I shouldn't support it. I do not support the murder of the innocent in our world. I hope today you can say the same, because today is your chance. Today is your chance to take a stand, to stand up for the unborn, to be their voice. You could save a life. Although it takes courage to stand before you today facing opposition, I think you are all more courageous than me. I know it's not easy to listen to a different opinion than your own. I know it's not easy to hear things that make you feel uncomfortable. It's not easy to see these pictures. But most of all, it's not easy to change one's mind. It takes bravery for you to let that go, to let something that you have held onto for so long, whether that's an opinion or belief, to let it go and allow something different to take its place. It takes incredible strength. It will always be harder to walk down an unfamiliar path, one that is unknown. We all like to stick with what we are comfortable with. I hope today I've made you turn around and walk down a different path. Because you are not like them. I know you are not like them. Because you are for them. Baby is taken from its mother's womb and killed every 30 seconds. That means in this speech, approximately 234 babies were just murdered. Disposed of like trash. No funeral was given, no flags lowered, no gravestone, nothing. Its heart once beating has now stopped. Its body once surrounded by the warmth of his or her mother's womb is now cold. Hands that were waving and legs that were kicking are now still. Smiling hiccups have ceased. His or her body once forming, growing every day is now disassembled, limbs torn off. The baby once hearing voices echoed at him now silent. The body once thriving and growing is now in pieces and a bag will be disposed of, all in the name of convenience. Is this what has become of us? It is time to right the wrong. They don't have a voice, but we do. We have a voice and let's use it because they are not garbage, they are not waste, they are babies. We must protect them like the air we breathe and the ground underneath our feet. They are us, our future. We can't give them a funeral. We cannot give them back their little bodies. We cannot breathe life back into them or make their heart beat once more. But we cannot give them back the womb they called home. We cannot make their toes wiggle and hands move. We cannot make them smile anymore, but we can give them our voice. Everybody is familiar with the saying, save the trees. And I couldn't agree more. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. He says, all the way. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream that everybody would be equal. I too share that dream. I dream that every baby will be born. I dream that every baby will be equal and have a chance at life. I dream that every baby will know how soft the touch is of someone tracing their fingers and toes, rubbing between their eyes to watch them drift off to sleep. I dream that every baby will be clothed in the warmth of loving arms. I dream that abortion will be a distant memory and the words, "Are you keeping it?" ceases to exist. I dream that every baby has a name. I dream that every baby knows what it feels like to be lifted like an airplane in the sky. I dream that every baby feels warm hands tickling their stomach. I dream that every baby opens their eyes in the morning to a loving mother or father reaching for them. I dream that every baby gets to hear the sounds of birds in the morning and crickets at night. I dream that every baby is held so close to their mother or father's chest that their heartbeat dances with theirs. I dream that every baby is given a chance to enter this world and open their eyes to the true beauty of it. I dream that every baby has a chance to cry, smile, laugh. I dream that every baby can love with all their heart and feel love with all their soul. I dream that every baby has a chance to feel the warmth of the sun on their body and the cool grass beneath their feet. I dream that every baby can someday lay on their back on a cool summer's night and look at the 1,000,001 stars that are shining just for them. I dream that every baby can smell how intoxicating lilac bushes are in the spring, or how a sunset showers the sky with every color they can imagine. I dream they can experience puppy kisses and sand between their toes. I dream that they can experience the low, growling thunder and trace the pitter-patter of the raindrops on the window. I dream that every baby feels the rocking and hears the lullabies. Sleep, baby, my sleep. I dream that every baby has a chance to grow up, make mistakes, learn from them, and go on their journey. I dream that every baby grows up and is able to have a dream of their own.